certainly a lot on the line as we get into our final two matches of the day that decide top 6, which is very different air than what Arden's experienced.
And you've heard Juicy talk about it. You get in that top 4 and that money just goes through the roof. And, you know, Ruben, someone that's played for an exceptional amount of money before. Arden maybe not getting into those 5 and 6 figures.
Arden with Tombstone and the Evo Archers.
Most likely going to be going to E-Giant, which is something that he's played a decent amount this year. Ruben going with an aggressive early Graveyard.
And maybe just reading the situation that there wasn't going to be a lot to sweep up these skeletons, and you're seeing that right there. A ton of damage and the high Tombstone to try to defend against the Prince.
Look at that!
But the Guardian sweeps right through it, and that might be the game in the very first minute.
It is. I mean, there's almost no way to come back from this. You know, Graveyard really is struggling when you're always getting a ton of pressure and you're trying to find moments to create offense. But if you take a tower this early on, Graveyard is also one of the best defensive decks in the game. And you can see there Arden shaking his head because his King Tower is now down below 2K. So now you still have the opportunity for Ruben to create pressure with the GY if he ever wants on King.
And I'd love to get more into that aggressive early play and maybe recognizing the Archers were no longer available to defend against the Graveyard. He thought, hey, let's go ahead and swing big early on.
And right now, you can see Ruben able to comfortably spend everything he needs here on defense. Could get a bar barrel out late. No, goes Evo Knight. Does get one bowler shot in for Arden, but that's still 2K HP to deal with, which is less than he has on his King Tower.
He made a great choice there too, using the Evolved Knight rather than the Little Prince ability, because that would of course reset the speed of the Little Prince attack, so keep that DPS on the board and do the same thing, which is protect it a little bit longer. Gotta wonder what's going through Arden's mind now with 40 seconds left. And
I mean, I like the idea of not giving up, Rich, but I also kind of like the idea of not committing too much emotion to the rest of this game. It seems like when you lose a tower to Graveyard that early on, you need to recognize, look, things did not go my way, but what can go my way is the rest of this set with the reset. But Arden, pedal to the metal here, another Tombstone in cycle, and I think as quickly as game number 1 started, it's out the window.
Nice Knight to protect the Baby Dragon for a little bit. Should be able to NATO this stuff back and get to another Tombstone if necessary. Goes Bar Barrel to turn, and that's going to be GG. Well played.
And that's the thing about Fancy Footwear. We talked about it. If you lose a tower to 2020, 21, it's things that were played back at home. Can he actually do it in 2023 on the live stage? And he has shown he can do it and then some with an exceptional showing. Yes, a little bit of a rough start to his tournament, but you can see how it's going from there on out.
I think people forget that Ruben played live in Spain for so long.
Yep.
And you might even call it the punk rock of Clash Royale, playing smaller shows in front of crazy Spanish-speaking crowds. And then on top of that, Team Queso was one match away, only a couple games away in 2019 from moving on and going to World Finals. So the same thing there. He was playing not in front of a crowd, but in a live environment with his opponent there, cameras in your face. Ruben has that experience, and of course, we of course know that he's a world champion.
And he's going right back to Hog Rider, his comfort, but also Ardentoas' comfort. He ran Hog 9 times more than his second highest win condition. He's ran it almost 40 times this season in CRL with a 68% win rate. So maybe going right to comfort, and then you look what he's running into. Those archers are going to be very difficult to take care of. They're going to help snipe off these bomb towers. Those charged up princes and that Mega Knight are devastating to deal with. And then the bats. You can really only take care of the bats with that firecracker. So a lot of difficulties here and some great decksmanship from Ruben.
It's so interesting about this deck because obviously for a long time we had the MK Prince Miner deck that was so popular, and then players started experimenting with playing Hog here, primarily because they wanted to preserve Miner for other decks, and then this just got discovered as, oh, it's a good meta deck.
And Hog gets a second big shot there for Ruben. Arden doesn't really react, but you know he felt that in his soul as he goes opposite lane.
Yeah, that firecracker didn't react either, and they were both kind of sitting there staring at what was happening. A couple good shots, though, in from the Hog Rider of Ardentoas. Closes the gap a bit to about 800 HP. Double elixir now starting to flow, and While these decks both are Hog Cycle decks, that extra elixir for the Mega Knight and Prince should benefit Ruben.
Yeah, and you know, if you're Ardentoas, you got to start to figure out how can I really abuse my Evoed Firecrackers and my 3-card cycle with my Monk, right? Because, you know, for the same conversation I was just having about dealing with the bats, you look at Ruben's responses to that Evoed Firecracker, also not a lot of great ones.
Hog does sneak in, Snowball to slow the defense.
And this Firecracker Ridge can cause a lot of problems.
Evo Archer's trying to snipe the Firecracker, and they do just in time.
And a little late is that Firecracker and the Monk.
Oh my word, that was a
reflected arrows.
Yeah, we don't see that often, unless you're watching, you know, one of our many YouTubers' videos on when it first came out.
And he jumps!
Oh my word! All Ruben has to do is stop this Hog Rider, and he is good to go. Archers, bats,
and
there you go.
And even then, Ruben goes Archers at the bridge, early snowball from Arden, late